the table, I have Alycia Cooper.
Boom.
Look at me.
Woo.
Names right.
Woo.
I'm excited. I love you. I've seen you on stage so many times. And I love your story.
Oh, thank you.
Like when you talk about how you were a lawyer and then you're like, I'm going to hold the magic talking stick now.
Well, no, I used to actually work in corporate America.
Okay.
As behind the scenes, I used to direct and produce. I got into the Directors Guild working on the Dr. Phil show.
I thought you were a lawyer.
No, you're thinking of Jackie.
Are you sure? Oh, well, obviously. Are you sure you know your life story?
Yeah.
You're getting
No.
your brown skinned black
my-
chick comics mixed up.
Damn it. But I knew that you were like, yeah.
Yeah, I had a good paying gig at one point, if that's what
Right.
you're getting to. But I hit a wall with that because everything takes like turns that you wouldn't expect, and I did not know when I got into the television arena that reality television would hit like it did, and then I ended up over on reality television, and it wasn't for me.
Okay.
So that was the thing that made me say, okay, I do comedy at night after working a 12-hour shift. Let me try to just focus on comedy because my job wasn't getting 100% of me and the comedy wasn't getting 100% of me. And I said, let me, try to see, I enjoy this, let me see if I can make something happen. And it wasn't overnight, it took years. But eventually I started making some headway and was able to sustain myself with solely comedy.
Okay. And have you ever had a massage before?
Yes, I have.
I figured as much because you knew where your head and your feet go. Normally when people are like, I'm like, you haven't even seen it in a TV show? Like, really?
Who was
Yes.
backward?
Couple of them.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna put my feet in a circle.
Then
Let my
you got-
toes hang out.
You're kind of like, what? How did that even make sense to you?
No.
Like, I had
that's
an
funny.
older lady. She had to be in her 70s, and when I worked at the chiropractor, and I came in, and she was opposite, and I go, okay, hon, I'm gonna need you to turn around, and I'm gonna have your feet where your head are, and your head where your feet are. I'll leave the room, and she's like, you don't have to, honey. And she flipped around and spread her legs, so I saw everything. And I went home, and I'm all, I don't want mine to look like the back end of a rotisserie chicken. And John's like, what? No! Why would you say that? I'm all, that's what it looked like. It scared me. I'm going to go do Kegels. I'll be back. Oh.
So I take it she had had a few children.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
She sounded Irish Catholic or Mormon. It's one of the two.
Like, tuck that in. What are you? It's all, whoa. Like if there's a breeze and you're wearing a skirt, does it go, ooh? Yeah.
Is she stepping on it?
Yeah. Throw it over her shoulder while she runs. Like,
Tucks it in her bra. But that's why they had that whole plastic surgery called vaggie rejuvenation.
Yep.
So that's probably for people like that.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're 70, like, what's the point? Just let it flap.
You've earned it.
You have earned it.
Oh no.
Yeah. But see, my kids were all C-section. In fact, when I had my son and I went in for the checkup, the doctor goes, you can tell you had a C-section. It's immaculate down here. And then, of course, me being the asshole I am, I'm like, yeah, you can eat off of it. I'm like, why did you see that?
So curious to see how immaculate mine is now. Like what comparatively just a before and after picture would be nice just to know like how wrecked it is.
I massaged a lady once. She's my patient, and I hope she doesn't listen to this podcast, and I love her. And in fact, her two daughters, she has two daughters, and I've used both of her daughters' names in two of my books. They're the main characters because I love her kids. And she had to have hers nipped and tucked because it was too long.
Mm.
And she came in and she's like, okay, you have to be careful with my legs. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's like, yeah, I had puss surgery. And I'm like, huh? And why are we calling it puss puss? Like, yeah.
You didn't have to tell me that.
Yeah,
I just would have avoided.
I don't normally touch that area anyway, so we're good.
Have you had any weird experiences while getting a massage, or they just been therapeutic and nice?
No, I remember when I grew up in Maryland, in one of my earlier jobs, I was working for this lady. She had a PR firm, and she did it out of her house in Silver Spring. So I would drive to her house to work, I think maybe, I'd say at least 4 days a week. And one of her gifts to me was a massage. But it was a husband and wife team. Now, at that point, I had never had a massage in my life. And I was early 20s. And I was so uncomfortable with this husband and wife team. I felt like I was a part of a weird menage.
Yeah.
And I was so stressed out. I came out worse. After the massage, I was more tense. I was more knotted up and balled up after the daggone massage because they were moaning. I was wait a minute. You know, so
Did you check their lotion bottle first?
I was like, who's this husband-wife team? 2 people massage you and moaning.
Oh.
Some weird seance. And then I couldn't say anything to my boss, but thank you, because then you sound like an ingrate.
Right.
But I was more stressed out than I started.
Oh.
See, I was.
It would have been better just to had sex with them and been like, yeah, we're good.
You know,
You wouldn't be as tense. You'd
Yeah.
be like, ah.
yeah, they look like hippies. And,
Oh.
you know, so I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, you're definitely in their spank bank.
Yeah.
You were deposited in their spank bank.
Yeah, they had been
immediately.
married like 40 years,
Oh.
and you know, but
Dear.
I was like, oh, okay.
They were probably moaning, trying to get you to go, and they're like, "Man, moan louder. She's not into it yet." You're face down. They're both naked. You're not.
I kept my eyes sealed shut. Super glue couldn't have sealed my eyes together better.
Oh.
Fantastic story, especially for your first one. Oh my gosh. I'm surprised you've ever got another one.
When did you go back to get another
That's a good
one?
question.
It was a while. It was a while, and it was one person, and it was in a massage facility.
Yeah.
You know, so and that was much better. Actually, it wasn't until I moved to LA, and I started, you know, getting massages there because the jobs were just so stressful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I started regularly getting them. I lived in North Hollywood, and there was a massage place.
How old were you when you moved to LA?
I was 27.
Okay, so you've been here 3 years. Okay.
Yeah, I've been here a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I moved here twice though. You know, I left and I went back to the East Coast. Then I I moved back to Maryland where I grew up. Then I moved to New York City because I wanted to do a year of comedy there. And woo! I mean, I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't change anything. But that is a comedy town and a 24-hour town. I've never been somewhere with 3 in the morning on a Wednesday. You're standing on a platform with like 400 people.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, New
I
York's
would-
intense.
I would thrive off of that though, except for the people. Like, I don't like people. I don't like crowds, but I would thrive off of the 3 a.m. We're doing shit. Like, yeah, where are you going?
I mean, oh my gosh, it's a very unique place to me because, you know, I grew up more suburban. You get in your car, you go.
Uh-huh.
You know, just that this was before Uber and Lyft. I probably would have a better time now because I would never get on the subway. I just Uber and Lyft everywhere. But the first night I got there, after I dropped my things off at my place, I went to, you know, just explore. And it was the funniest thing because everybody was like same-sex couples. So they had like, you know, 2 guys. One would have his hand in the other guy's back pocket, or 2 women would be kissing. I said, "Oh, New York is very gay." I had no idea there was gay pride going on. I just thought everybody was in a same-sex relationship. I didn't know it was a parade happening. So the next day I saw the news. I said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Like, no wonder all the plays are about gay people in New York.
No wonder
color.
everybody's kissing. I just thought that everybody was gay in New York. I didn't know it was my first night.
Were you in the
New York is
village?
the new San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even in the village. I was just walking around.
You're just in Times Square.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I saw the news and I said, oh, I'm just such an idiot.
No. So funny.
Now, do you have any other like good massage stories, or are they just all normal now? Except for some girl trying to get you on her podcast.
Good massage stories.
Because not very many people have them, so when I find someone, I'm like, oh, give them to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different kinds of massages. Like, I like the one you do. This is excellent.
Oh, thank you.
And I also like the water massages.
Yes, those are good.
Yeah, so I took my father came to visit, so I took him to one of the ones where you can get, it's called a hunter's retreat, where it's like your body is in a car wash during the massage. And so I couldn't wait to hear what my father thought about it, because he's an extreme alpha male.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, so Dad, how'd you like it? He said, I've never been this clean.
Oh,
That's
a great response.
Because, they basically exfoliate your toes and everything. You're going to shed a layer of skin.
Right?
But I was cracking up. My father always has the funniest responses to stuff. They're quick and they're succinct and they just get right to the point. Like, he was so mad about the election of Donald Trump. He said, if you can't see that this fool is a fool, then you're a fool. I was crying laughing.
It's a bumper sticker right there.
I was like, well, that sums up the presidency.
You're like, well, there's my merch.
Right?
It's on a shirt.
Yeah. And stickers and patches, because apparently those are things we need now. Hats. Just
So many hats.
oh.
But I can't wear hats. I have too big. My ears are too big.
Well, I just have a big head, so.
Caleb, my middle son, his head is so big that when he was in the hospital, they couldn't find a beanie to put on him. So the nurse kind of gave up and just laid it on top of his head and walked out. I'm all, really? That's what we're doing right now? Just screw it. Now, what do you do to relax? Like, do you have certain things that you do, or you just constantly go, go, go?
I'm trying to be less go. So I've been listening to books on tape lately.
Okay.
So I've been doing that. Certain books I can just, veg out and just listen to. The other thing I listen to on tape is not as relaxing because it's more educational. Like I have the Masterclass series, the app for that. And so since I'm directing my first project next month, probably early
Congratulations.
April. Thank you. I've been listening to all the directors' masterclasses.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, Ron Howard to Spike Lee to Martin Scorsese, So I'm just listening to the master classes, but that's more, you have to pay attention to that. But then I've been listening to books on tape. Like whenever somebody's starting to run for the office, I go get their book on tape.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to the Kamala Harris one right now.
Okay.
So, so just a lot more listening than reading
Uh-huh.
these days, really, because I don't have the time to hold a book and read it.
I get it.
So a lot of times when I'm listening to something on tape, I'm in the car.
Uh-huh.
So,
Do you find that you like people's stories, or do you listen to like fictions as well?
it's a good question. I think it's a combination of both. And everything doesn't stick with me right away. Like everybody was like, you have to get that book, something about blood and bone that everybody was talking about, and I ordered it and I was listening to it, it didn't catch, I felt like I was forcing, not to say it's a bad book, but I was forcing myself to continue to listen. So what I find that I like more now is more nonfiction, the Fire and Fury and Donald Trump, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think things that really matter are the things that have my attention now, but it might change at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
And it also goes with the narrators too, because there's a couple times I'm like, you need to stop talking through your nose. Stop talking through your nose. And people probably think I'm crazy in the car because I'm yelling, like, why are you talking? Like, stop. Just talk like a human.
Yes. Yeah,
Why do you have vocal fry? What are you doing?
But I like it when the author is the narrator.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Like 2 comedy books that I listened to in the last year that had me cracking up was the first book that I thought I would never hear anything funnier was Jennifer Lewis's book. called The Mother of Black Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
I laughed. So she read it herself, which is great because she's theatrical.
Uh-huh.
So she takes you on a journey with her. I almost ran into a tree laughing. So I thought I'd never find a book funnier. Right after I finished hers, I listened to Kevin Hart's book. I Can't Make This Stuff Up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That book was so funny. It's about his upbringing. And it was just, and what also makes it funny is because it's a unique story to him. Nobody else has his story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hilarious. So those two books had me cracking up. So I like good books written about comedians' life stories.
Yeah.
No, I could see that. That's interesting.
I was given a comedy book at the Comedy Store the other day, and I thought it was that, and it just turned out to be lessons on how to do stand-up. And do you know Lou Deck?
Uh-huh.
He's from the beginning of the Comedy Store, and he was there doing the documentary that they're doing right now, and he found out that I do stand-up, and he was just like, oh, I have a gift for you, and handed me a book, and then it was like, the first 50 times you're on stage, they're the scariest, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, you're right, and then he handed me a book that was him trying to teach me how to write jokes, which is not insulting at all when you see a female comic and just assume she doesn't know what she's doing. But yeah, it's funny. I came to comedy through theater, and so I was already, writing, but it's different because you're doing stand up and the beats are different and everything. But it's kind of funny out here, just the people that read the books to learn how to do comedy or taking classes and stuff. How did you get into writing for comedy?
I moved out here because I saw a sitcom called Living Single and fell in love with it. This was right after falling in love with the Golden Girls. So I like the shows with the 4-point opposition and all the characters. You have the Dorothy type that's really deadpan. Then you have the Blanche that's the sex kitten. Then you have the Rose that's the dingbat. Then you have the older lady who's just the one that just comes in with the zingers. So then when you see that format, you're like, oh, that's really interesting. Then when I saw it with Living Single, I related to those characters, and I was like, I really want to create sitcoms. That's what I moved out here to attempt to do. Had no idea what it took. And then realizing that to get into a writer's room is almost virtually impossible, because sometimes they tell you have to be in the Writers Guild to get the job interview, but you can't get the job, you know what I'm saying? You can get in the guild. So it's like this weird catch-22.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a production assistant. Definitely didn't want to be a writer's assistant. That's like a court stenographer. So I was like, I have to figure out another way. So I had tried stand-up and didn't know that people wrote material. I thought everybody was just getting up, talking off the top of their head because they were just so comfortable and talented.
That's the way they make it look, yeah.
They make it look easy.
And then I get on stage and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I'm like, I've been making people laugh since elementary school. This should be eaten. No.
Yeah.
It is an art form that you will learn to respect. So I had to learn how to write a joke and learn how to construct a joke. And I still didn't see comedy as something for me.
Yeah.
I still wanted... I still had my day job and I wanted to rise in the ranks of television production. But once everything switched from, sitcoms went away for a minute because reality shows took up a lot of the airspace, I didn't really want to do that. So after doing comedy at night, because I ended up being forced to do it, I was producing a show, and one of the other producers said that she was doing a show this Friday, it was like a Monday, on the next big thing. She was going to have 2 singers, 2 rappers, and 2 comedians. And she said, and I booked you as one of the 2 comedians. And I said, why would you book me? I don't do comedy anymore. She said, because you're the funniest person in the office. I said, well, how hard is that to be? Then I said, I have my own shows due.
Yeah.
I really don't have time to. Well, you're booked. She would not take no for an answer. So I was like, oh, hell. And this was a national TV show.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let me try to figure something out. So I wrote, she said it's only 3 minutes. So I wrote a couple jokes. I went to the Ha Ha Cafe in in North Hollywood
That's
to try to practice.
First place I did comedy was the Hollow.
And you know, it was a lukewarm reception, but at least I got to hear the words come out of my mouth before I put it on television. And then they had judges, and then the judges did not give me a bad critique, because had they given me a bad critique, I'd have quit again. But they gave me encouraging words, so that's when I started doing it at night and working all day. But still not planning on doing it full time. It was just a fun, creative outlet at that time.
Right.
So, but you know, life morphs. You don't really know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, isn't that, yeah. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting this to go here. All right.
Exactly. But let me tell you my new form of relaxation that happens, I believe, after 40. You really get too exhausted to drive. So what I do now is I just Uber and Lyft. Like places where I would drive myself. I leave my car parked at home and I'll jump right into a Lyft and just let somebody drive me, because it's so much better. You're not stimulated mentally the whole time like you have to be in order to drive. You know, looking at the lines in the road and watching other cars and defensive driving. You can just lay back if you want to. You can close your eyes. You can snore if you want to. It's just a much more relaxing way to do things is to let somebody else drive you.
I like that. It's just your little, like, just give me a couple minutes.
Yeah, just let me close my eyes and let me just turn my brain off. And that's my relaxation now, just not driving myself.
Right.
Car parked and let somebody else do the driving. That is a Greyhound.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Have you ever had to ask them to like change the music or stop doing
Oh,
something?
the funniest thing happened last night. I had a Montreal Just for Laughs showcase at the Hollywood Improv.
Oh.
And that's when I said, I'm definitely not driving myself. So I get the Lyft app. And this guy picks me up, and he's like an older kind of foreign guy. I don't know exactly which country. But he said, oh, you're going to a comedy club. And I said, yeah. He said, are you watching somebody, or are you going to be part of the show? And I made the mistake.
No.
I should have said just watching somebody. That would have. I've learned as of last night. Don't. So I said, I actually have a showcase. And he was like, oh, why does this man proceed to start telling me a series of bad jokes?
Why? Why?
And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm starting to panic. Like I try to call one of my friends, and then she doesn't pick up. So he's like, yeah, well, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri in the 60s, and we told all of our jokes were ethnic jokes. I was like, oh, please don't let him do no N-word jokes in the back of this daggone.
Did not want to have to go to the hospital today, but I'm definitely going to knock this man out while he's driving.
I thought that's what he was angling for, but he proceeds to tell a series of Polak jokes.
Of course.
First of all, I ain't even heard the word Polak in a decade.
I kind of remember when that was like a big. I remember those jokes like when I was little, and they were kind of like, and you had no idea what they were talking about, but you were just like, I'm going with it. So.
And I mean, he's like, how many Polacks does it take to change a light bulb? And then whatever his punchline was, which I don't remember, it was so womp. Thank God, like his third Polak joke in a row. My phone rang. I picked that phone and I talked all the way till we got to the Hollywood Improv. I did not want this man to start back up.
Your friend's like ready to go, and you're like, no. What about that thing that you were talking about the other day? The thing? I don't know.
I'd be like, you can hang up. I'm just going to continue talking to my phone. I've done that. There's been a couple times I've tried to avoid people, and I've grabbed my phone and I'm like, just don't ring, because then I'll look really dumb.
Yeah.
I'll just walk and be like, improv's classes. Let's try these.
No, I got into a Lyft the other day, and the girl had signs taped to the outside of the car, so it should have been a warning, but it wasn't. And then I opened the door, and she had twinkle lights all taped up throughout the car, and then little hearts dangling from all over the ceiling with notes on them, like love yourself and things like that, which is nice and great, but there's just stuff throughout the car. It was like a 14-year-old girl's room, and then the music she had on was awful but like non-offensive, like it just was nothing. And I was sitting there, and It's like if the concept of non-binary were a sound was what was in her car, and I didn't know what, like, I was just sitting there, and I'm like, I can't tell, she's so nice and chipper, but you can't tell her, like, hey, whatever that is needs to go. Like, her car, it was like having a seizure with a child. In the car, I was like, I don't know what's happening, but there's definitely sensory overload. They're weird, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they spend all their day. I can't, like, I don't know. They spend all their day in the car, you know? So they just decorate it. I don't know. That's weird.
Mm-mm. But the good thing about Uber and Lyft, like, you don't have a boss. Like, you just set your own out, turn your phone off when you don't feel like being bothered, turn it on when you do.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's a great way to keep people, like, that need employment afloat, you know.
It's the new waitressing, like
Yes.
every.
It's better than waitressing because waitresses can't, they
Just
can
not take a
especially
shit.
waitress
That's
who's
true.
who's an actress can't just turn it off. You can turn it off, go to an audition, and turn it back on.
That's completely true.
Yeah. That's so true.
Now, weird transition. Have you ever had any like crazy injuries or any injuries that you've had to deal with?
Injuries. Nothing like major.
Okay.
When I was little, I fell off my skateboard and sprained my ankle. But
I can't do skateboards. My body, like, I can't dance either, though. Like, I'm that girl that's like, I think I can do it, but my body's like, no, you can't. Try it. We'll laugh at you. All right, never mind.
Well, as an adult, about maybe a month ago, I had a weird injury that came out of the blue. And I was watching TV and the DVD stopped. And I go to get up and eject it and, put something else in. And my toe gets caught in the comforter. Next thing I know, I'm airborne, flying towards the TV and the DVD player. And it was like something from The Greatest American Hero. I was like, believe it or not, I'm walking away. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer.
And you have a
Who
big
could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. And then I landed. And next thing I know, my toe, like, swole or something. Like, I couldn't, like, when I would put it in a shoe, I could feel it when I would step down. So I don't know what injury that is. I don't know if it was a sprain, but that thing hurt for, like, 4 nights.
Yeah.
Off just tugging it on the comforter. Because my big toe went to the left and my other 4 toes went to the right of this comforter. And I was like, how do you get your ass whipped by a comforter?
Oh, it's possible.
What were you watching? Sorry.
Yeah, what was that DVD?